So it's been over a year of me collecting manga on YouTube, and I finally want to talk about the handful of manga that got me into collecting manga and got me into this entertainment, like reading manga all the time. And these, to be very clear, these are not my favorite. Some of them are. But actually, most of them they would definitely be like in a top 10, top 15-ish of my favorite manga titles. But these are the manga that actually mean something to me. And actually, there's kind of a story behind why I hold these manga in high regard. Yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. I mean, listen, is anybody surprised? Is there one person that's like, what? He likes One Piece? That's crazy. This manga right here, I had to start with this one because, especially when it comes to the YouTube side of things, I love this manga. This is the manga, and the reason that it's very important to me is kind of simple. It was the manga where I realized I can read these very popular, long-running series way quicker than actually watching the anime. And I know a lot of you are like, well, the anime for One Piece is amazing, and like there's people that like the Bleach anime and Naruto. I understand that, but as a person that was coming into it way after these series started, that it can be daunting to take the leap. I get it. I know One Piece has almost 100 volumes released in English. I get it when you're talking about, hey, you're talking about taking a leap. You're reading 100. I know. But I can read way faster than watching a 20-minute series. And obviously now that I have fallen in love with this world of One Piece and its characters, absolutely have plans to watch the anime and catch up to current and consume as much One Piece things as possible. But it was the way for me to get into a series like this because I love reading. I read every night before I go to sleep. That's how I can get through so much manga. To be honest, like it's just a habit I've gotten into of like you're laying in bed instead of like looking at my phone and stuff. It just calms my brain down. But it was the first series where I realized I can get into anything. The number of volumes stopped mattering to me because I was like, if I can get caught up to this, there's no manga on this planet that I cannot read. Now, whether I like every manga, different story, but I believe when we first get into reading manga, that number scares a lot of us. Well, scares not the right word, but is intimidating to a lot of us. Like, all right, I want to start with a small series, maybe a 5-volume series, a 20-volume series. And I was just like that. I was only collecting like short series and series that I already had some background with. We'll get to it in a minute. But this was the one that broke through, and now I don't even care if a series runs for 1,000 volumes. If it's an interesting story and continues to be interesting, I'll read it. I'll keep reading it and keep reading it. Because, and I know this sounds cliche, if it's good, why do you not want a lot of good? You can never have too much good. But yeah, I've said it 1,000 times, there's no series like One Piece, and it continues to hold true for me. Wotakoi love is hard for an otaku. Man, what can I say about this manga? This manga showed me that every manga does not have to be, hey, I'm gonna punch that guy. And that was very big for me as Mr. Shonen. Mr. Shonen Jump, the Yu Yu Hakusho, the Dragonball, the One Piece, the Bleach. This was the manga that got me so interested in more of the slice of life comedy, that there's other genres in manga besides, hey, I'm gonna punch that guy. If you don't know what this series is about, it reminds me, it's a perfect way, this is how I pitch it to people and I get them to read it, right? Because I want as many people to read this series as possible. It's like The Office with otakus. That's the best way I could pitch it. If you're like, I hate The Office. I mean, fair enough. And what I mean by that is you want to follow these characters no matter what they're doing, whether they're just going to dinner or at work. And maybe that's where The Office really, could kind of go for other shows too, but the reason that The Office comes to mind is they do spend a lot of time in their workplace. But where I think Wotakoi transcends just basic slice of life comedy, these characters, and maybe it's for me, I don't know if I am an otaku, probably. If I had to guess, I would say yes. There's just something about, they all have their flaws, but you appreciate the flaws that each character has. And as a growing cast, especially the final volume is going to come out in English, I think next month. But I just think that it is the perfect walking of the fine line where some of the characters and some of the things they go through, while yes, maybe you're thinking to yourself like slice of life comedy, that's not really for me. I want to punch that guy. I understand it. I get it. That's super fun. But I think this is the closest that I have personally experienced where it walks that fine line, that it doesn't beat you over the head with the slice of life comedy elements. And there is kind of a little shonen elements mixed in there because it's not overly so far into that genre that it's not impenetrable for people that like other genres and maybe are not the biggest fan of slice of life or comedy, because I believe that the characters are so well done and so well written that even if you don't like this genre, you will enjoy the characters, which will make you continue reading, even if there are bits and pieces that are not perfect. Nothing is ever perfect. But it does not take away from the fact that it was my first manga in a different genre, and now I am branching out anytime I can. I can't talk about my manga collection and not talk about Dragonball. It was the first manga that I actively bought, knowing it was a manga. Actually, if you've watched some of my videos, I've mentioned this. The first manga was Death Note. Did not know it was a manga. Did not know what that was when I bought it. And these actually, hold on, let's see if I can get there. It's a first printing, March 2003. I have taken really good care of it. This was from when I was a child. Yeah, it's bad. That withstanding, I do have the box set that they released recently. Not recently, like a few years ago. But the Dragon Ball and the Dragon Ball Z box set was my active first purchase into manga. And just like Dragon Ball Z was my first dive into anime when I was a kid, this was my first dive into manga. It's a full circle thing for me. And while I have the rose-colored glasses of Dragon Ball Z are slowly being cracked away the more I am into manga and into anime. But it will always hold a special place in my heart. And I can't do anything about it. That's just the way it is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know it's like played out to say like that's your favorite manga or favorite anime, but you have to admit it's a lot of people's first. And you never forget your first. And after owning the box set for like a year, sitting on my shelf, I finally cracked it open and started reading this manga, and it was full steam ahead ever since then. And I'll never really forget cracking open the first book and just kind of experiencing it. And as a big comic book collector back in the day, it blended both of my childhood things with comic books and anime. And as an adult, I was like, oh no, I have adult money. This is going to become a problem. And it has. So a great problem to have, a problem I never will get rid of. So not a problem, a blessing, some would say. But obviously, you know the story of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. And like I said, these are not lists of my favorite, just lists of mangas that mean something to me. And Dragon Ball has to always and will always be on there. Because without that, I don't think I would have dove into manga. Maybe there was a reason, especially with like me hanging out with Rex a lot and things like that. Maybe I would have, but not as quickly. Because it was the perfect gateway for me to crack open the door and then kick it down. Kick it down and take over the house. Like, I live here now. I'm sorry, you're moving out. I live here. I'm going to build my house of manga. but I take way better care of my manga than I used to. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Go with the Clouds, North by Northwest was the first manga when I was browsing Ride Stuff, and it was the first one that I took a chance on. I knew nothing about it. Nothing. And it was on sale for like $6. I don't hear enough people talk about it. And the reason that this kind of is on this list is because it taught me, hey, maybe you don't have to do research on every single manga you purchase. Maybe there is some type of joy and some type of fun to be had with looking at a cover. Look at this cover. It feels super nice. And this artwork, it was just one of those things that it taught me that it's a-okay to take a risk on manga. Now, like I said, I'm not saying don't do your research on Berserk and then spend $50 on the deluxe edition. I mean, I did that. Don't be like me. Be better than me. It's my whole goal. Be better than me. Watch me do this dumb stuff and then do your own research and make sure that you want to spend that kind of money. But for $6, $10, there's something fun about looking at a series just based on cover and artwork and maybe never hearing about it and giving it a shot. Because anime and manga is so popular now that I feel like it's harder and harder to find manga that is not being talked about. It's something special to find something like that. And especially with Go With the Clouds, North by Northwest, I hear no one talking about it. It's like a detective series about Iceland. The art is incredible. The author actually, it takes him about a year to release a volume here in North America. He releases about one every year. I don't kind of want to spoil the story because there is a mystery involved with it. It's slice of life, art, detective mystery. Some of it can be slow. I'm going to warn you, there are some volumes where I was like, oh, that was a slow volume, but there's something special about it that I really enjoy, and I wish more people would talk about it. And the reason that it makes this list is it actually was the first blind, I'm just going to buy this. Hopefully it's good. It might be trash. And surprisingly, turned out really good. So I was batting 1,000 at that point. There are some now that I have taken a chance on. Let me tell you, they're not all winners. So when you start just taking chance on manga, no, you're not always going to hit the jackpot. There's got to be some losers to make you thankful for the winners. It's poetic like that. But yeah, Go With the Clouds, North by Northwest. If you can find it on a deal, or if you have $12 to gamble with, I think there's something really cool and unique about it. So maybe you should check it out. Bakuman. Okay, I know I just said this is not a list of my favorites, but this and the last one that we're going to talk about after this one are definitely 100% in my top 5. 100%. I don't see a manga changing that. Now, it might fluctuate in where they land, but they are always going to be in top 5. And the reason I say that about Bakuman is not only is it from the same author and artist of Death Note, and those guys don't miss. I still haven't started Platinum in. I've collected all of it except I'm missing volume 4 or 3. I'm missing volume 3. I just checked. One day I will start Platinum in. So this author and artist have pedigree. But Bakuman, it should never be your first manga. It should be about your 5th manga. I think I've said this in other videos. It goes into the world of creating manga and the world of Shonen Jump, like Oda cameos in this manga. Akira Toriyama is mentioned in this manga. And not only because at that point you've become a fan, and as a fan of this medium, it is dramatized, but it feels like you're getting an inside look in how manga is made, and that makes it so interesting. On top of that, it is one of the best character-driven stories I've ever read. And I'm not talking about manga, I'm talking ever read. Plus the art, they try to do shonen art in this slice of life character driven story, and it works so well. You care about all these characters. You want to talk about a cast of characters from the main two to all of the other side supporting characters. There is something to love and something to draw you into all of them. And it is one of the most well-crafted stories. I'm not going to really go into what the story is because I think you reading it and experiencing it is part of the journey. Because it really does feel like you go on a journey with these main two to become manga artists and manga writers and to be successful in this world. And that's another thing. I believe that the story is so well done that you can kind of take the manga out of it and you get to watch these two kids grow up with something driving them to be successful in a field they're very passionate about. And whether you might not want to be a manga artist, but if you've ever wanted to be successful in something, I feel like their journey and the stuff they go through, you can relate to some of it, which makes you have a personal connection, or at least in my case, I felt like I had a personal connection with the story that Bakuman was trying to tell. And nothing will ever top that to me. I'm not saying it's my number one, but it might be. I would have to sit down and actually do a list of my favorite manga of all time. If you're interested, let me know in the comments below, and I might sit down and think about that list. I feel like that list changes so much, but maybe. It might be an interesting video. But this manga will always be on the list of the reason that I love manga. And I don't think I can ever have a conversation if someone asks me, why do you love manga? And not only that, you make videos about it and all this stuff. Bakuman will always come up in that conversation because it is very, very important to me. And I think it holds up today as well, if not better, than when it came out. If that sounds interesting to you, I feel like everyone that reads manga, again, not your first manga, but everyone that has read manga should at least give Bakuman a try. I'm not saying that you'll love it as much as I do, but I think you will get something out of it. Nothing will ever beat 20th Century Boys by Urasawa, in my opinion. The reason that I think nothing will ever beat that manga is very simple. It was the first manga, and I will always have rose-colored glasses, just like I was talking about with Go With The Clouds, and kind of like with Bakuman. I knew nothing, but I heard people, other manga YouTubers, talk about 20th Century Boys and how incredible it was, and this and that, and sometimes that hype can crush a series for you. I'm still nervous about me reading all of Berserk and being like, oh God. Oh no. I don't love it as much as everybody else. That terrifies me, honestly, because it terrifies me when you talk about seminal works of manga. I'm reading through Goodnight Punpun right now. I love it. I'm probably going to do a video on it like way later down the line. I'm still on volume 3 and I kind of want to read all 7 volumes before I do it. But there is nothing more terrifying when getting into manga, reading something that everyone that you watch on YouTube or you know in your real life are like, hey man, listen, you have to read this. It's incredible. And then you read it and you're like, oh, I don't love it. Is there something wrong with me? Am I not getting it? And that's what I was so worried about with 20th Century Boys. But in my opinion, because I'm not going to be part of the build it up to infinity and then you're going to be like, oh, I should check it out, and then you're going to read it and be like, man, listen, it's kind of trash. I'll just say this. For me, in my experience, this manga lived up and surpassed the hype. And that's incredible because the hype was massive. And it showed me because it was one of the first ones that I read when I was getting into this hobby. It showed me the storytelling ability in manga. Where, again, let me reiterate, I like to see that guy punch that other guy. And this showed me like, oh, this can do story. This can do stories that can affect you on a personal level type of stories. This can do, in my opinion, this can do a spanning story that can be put up there with some of the great literary works ever. The Lord of the Rings, Catcher in the Rye, Dune. I know those are very different stories. I get it. The Great Gatsby. Pride and Prejudice. What I'm saying is, if I had to do a list, be 20th Century Boys, Pride and Prejudice way down at the bottom. But Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Now, hold on a minute. That's a story. No, what am I talking about? But in all reality, it really showed me what this medium of manga is capable of doing in a storytelling aspect. And as my first one, like I said, it is rose-colored glasses. I'll be the first to admit that. So take that with a grain of salt when I say that 20th Century Boys will always hold a special place in my heart, and it will always be brought up like Bakuman in some of my favorite manga of all time. And actually, I can just get rid of the manga and say my favorite works that I've ever read, watched, anything. Some of my favorite works of all time. And to me, it was at a time when I was just getting into this, and it showed me, oh, this is not, because I was definitely part of that crowd that was like, this is for the children. And I was so incredibly wrong. I apologize to past me for taking so many years to get to this, because I was missing out on so many stories that could mean so much to me. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this list of manga that got me into manga and got me to where I am now, where all I think about is manga 70% of the time. And let me know in the comments down below what mangas got you into manga and got you where you read it and said, oh, this is what manga is capable of doing. Stuff that meant something to you and stuff that got you into collecting. I think that'd be a really fun conversation to have. So you know mine, now I want to know yours. This is how this works. Plus, I might not have read those, and if you had a personal experience with it, I might have personal experience. Don't rob me of personal experience. That's very selfish. That's what I'm going to say. That is very selfish. Wow. No, seriously, this was a fun video for me to shoot. It gave me kind of a trip down memory lane, and I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, if you made it to the end of this video, I wholeheartedly appreciate you guys so much. Man, you guys, you specifically, you in the blue. In the blue, you're incredible. In the yellow, you're incredible, but like not as incredible as the one in the blue. The one in the blue. Wow. You're really killing it today. Good job. But yes, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.